going to be given at the end of the day. So you find that the spending is not prioritized in regards to Uganda's development. So we don't have money. The donors will not give you money. They have to tie it under certain conditions. As Mr. told you, that they said there has to be electoral commission review so that we can give you money to be able to fund it. So there is a lot which is not happening.
Let me put it clear to our viewers. How much money the government is planning to spend during the Commission. First of all, they're planning to spend 357 billion Ugandan shillings in the coming general elections. Now, so far, they already have probably 222. Now, they are short of 232.6 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, that's a lot of money, which is...
Yeah.
They're planning to spend 357 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, they're short of 232.6 billion before they... even the general election start. Yeah, so that's a lot of money that's going to be spent. Now, you guys in People Power, which is a great move for you, that you think it's going to be a very disorganized election now. If there are people in People Power who say we're going to have maybe a strike or rise against anything. You'll have an excuse already. So does this work for you? As People Power supporters?
I want to talk about the bottom line. I don't want to talk about what works for us and what you know, the bottom line is that election or no election, there is change coming. Yeah, we can dilly-dally, you know, like oh, we don't have money, monkey tricks. Is typical things. I will not run. In the next election, or the party has to decide. This nonsense of confusing Ugandans non-stop should come to an end. David. I can't deny it's probably our fault that they are saying that they there's no money. Since the Ugandan State House, that every day that the president stays in power, Uganda loses 1.8 billion shillings. 1.8. Why? He has built an empire where people like Catherine Kusasira and Butcherman get $500, others get $6. $600 million. So we can't have the money. It is only logical if you spend too much, you can't have money to sustain your.
But we also remember that the State House, I think financial Secretary Nachobe also came out to say that we are short of funds. that a constitutional forum for democratic change has not changed. So there is a possibility for them to present a candidate. How is the possibility, or where is the possibility of FDC and DP and People Power coming together to support one candidate, especially you forcing Ugandans to only vote for Honorable Robert Chagulanyi? Sir.
Unless you're not ready for change, unless you do not understand the dynamics of how politics plays in Uganda, unless you do not understand the simple terms when we say you need a block vote, you are not going to create an impact in any electoral system in Uganda if you have different candidates coming from different parties standing against President Museveni. You're not going to create an impact. One thing we must know for sure, President Museveni is going to rig the vote. He is. We know it for sure. Whether People Power or not, we know he's going to rig the vote, because that's one thing he has mastered. He has done it for so many years. So how do we control even the rigging of the vote? Is if on the side of the opposition we have one candidate and people go out, because for sure we must understand majority of Ugandans. The majority of Ugandans who want change are more than those who are saying no change.
But majority of Ugandans do not go for one candidate, because if that was the case, then that means
why it is up to it is entirely up to the leaders of political parties to see who is strong. Because why would FDC be fronting someone who they very much know is weaker than another candidate? Because this is not about who is, you know, we can have 100 members standing for presidency for that position, but this is not a context of how many people we have out there. This is not a beauty context. This is a context. This is a serious race. We want Museveni out, and we cannot risk any chances of having so many candidates on the ballot paper, because even if we lose one vote, that vote means everything. Just imagine if we have a clean ballot where you have Museveni versus the opposition candidate, and we encourage Ugandans to go out and vote in big numbers, even if Museveni rigs, because he cannot rig more than the votes, the entire votes, you know, casted on that particular day. So if we still have parties bickering on, oh, this party wants to bring in someone, this party wants to bring in someone, then we must understand that, you know, there is a difference between political parties and their structure are led by a few individuals, of which most of them are selfish. They are very, very comfortable in their position. Someone is comfortable being a party president, someone is comfortable being, you know, a party executive secretary, whatever it is, because they earn from it, and they do not care about Ugandans, because this is not about which political party. This is about which candidate has more potential to out Museveni. That's what we are looking at right now.
David,
we are
can I add in something small?
We are looking at
sure, I'm going to bring you
has the most
let me
potential to take down Museveni. And if the person who has the most potential to take out Museveni is the one that is most popular, I would just advise other parties, we go with that. We can look at how we share the cake after that, because this is, we want to just break this cycle, the curse of 34 years of President Museveni, and you cannot break it by having so many candidates all fighting for the national cake.
Why don't you support FDC?
I want to interject a little. I want to support what Sarah is saying. It's very important to have a block vote. And my FDC people know I support that. I don't care who comes under a block leadership, but we must have a block vote. My problem is coalitions are usually done after sitting down, after a protracted agreement. There is no way we are going to say FDC join DP or DP join People Power or People Power join FDC. It has to be protracted. Without that, there is no way we are going. That is why I'm telling you, our party still has the right to say that people are going to vie for the top post under the FDC internal elections. Then thereafter, if there is a protracted agreement, if there is a talk, if there is a coalition that is going to be created within the next 6 or 7 months, that is then we can say, now we have agreed between these pressure groups and the political parties that we are going to give Mao, or we are going to give Besigye, or we are going to give Robert Chagulanyi to lead us into the presidential race. So both sides, we have to be happy that some things are working. We are able to do something to get there.
I want to bring in the now. I'll go to Richard. How many would you take?
Ideally, if we were working in a normal political environment, my brother would be very accurate. He would, you sit down, you contest as a party. The one who wins in the party comes to the table, and that candidate is later fronted as the opposition candidate, flag bearer. That is ideal. But the environment we are working in is very complex, right? That if you start with elections at the party level, elections tend to cause divisions. Let's agree on that. That's a fact.
But that
anyway, let me finish.
Before you finish, you were talking about democracy. So if you saying that probably, let me assume, I'm not going to say that under People Power, but you as an individual, if you're saying that you want democracy in the country, how are you going to have democracy if you don't allow elections to take place when people have to make decisions?
That is what I am talking about. See, in Uganda right now, it is not democratic. The way things are happening is not democratic, and this is why our biggest opponent has managed to stay in power this long, because you have never heard of Kamyufu for NRM where Museveni loses. He always comes what? As a sole candidate.
Yeah.
So if you start with elections in the FDC, you start causing these, how do they call them? Bukuri. How do you call them? Yeah, you cause bickery because the other one won the election, this one is cheated, then contestation, even within, which causes division. That's why People Power, we are very focused. We are very focused. And our goal is to challenge Museveni, not ourselves. Do you understand what I'm saying, my brother? So, the thing is that we, my position is here. Our environment, after we take Museveni, then we can engage in purely democratic systems. But as of right now,
you want to break
our environment is very hostile. Our own goal, our major goal is to take Museveni, not ourselves. So if we can't arrange contestations between each other, and then after that arrange more contestations.
But
Because with every contestation,
that's the main reason.
division.
That's the main reason you're fighting against.
Can I bring in something before you bring in Richard?
Yeah, sure. But let me ask you this before actually bringing that. That's the main reason you're fighting against President Museveni, or you're fighting against probably NRM. You said they always bring one candidate who actually sole candidate who does not go on through election.
By the way, this issue is beyond even political.
So what does that tell?
This issue is beyond NRM.
What does that tell the public if you guys in opposition are almost doing the same exact thing as what NRM is doing?
This issue is beyond NRM. This issue is beyond every political party. This issue is Museveni as an individual. Our target as Ugandans should be to take out Museveni, because the biggest problem of Uganda right now is not NRM. NRM as a party doesn't even have, if you look at the ideal way of even structures, NRM doesn't have them, apart from rigging and doing this and all that. NRM does not have, because as a party that has been in power, it should be having, it should be even getting to a stage where they're using their own money. A party should be having their own money to conduct elections. They go back and use taxpayers' money to even conduct elections. So in the most even ideal world, NRM, we are not even looking at NRM, because as NRM is in 7. Basically, take out Museveni, NRM is going to die with Museveni. And going back to what he said, in the most ideal world, just like he had mentioned, if everything was going to happen just as it is in the book, Mugisha Muntu would have run for presidency the moment he became FDC, FDC president. He would have run for president of Uganda. But it's still in the ideal world. He could not. Dr. Besigye again came in. So it's enough to tell you, if you go back into playing the party politics, will not get where we are going, because our ideal and the problem of Uganda right now is not FDC. It is not NRM as a party. It is not any other party. Our major problem is President Museveni. Take away President Museveni, all these people who are lingering around President Museveni are going to die with him. And I'm telling you, take down President Museveni, if NRM will be a part of yesterday. You won't know. You will wonder, where did the party that claimed to have structures, where has it disappeared to? It will go, because the only person who is holding NRM and controlling the entire thing is Museveni. See even how his leadership is. He's done opening up toilets. He's the one running everything. He's done giving envelopes. You find him by the roadside handing old people envelopes. So it is going to die with him, because he has not been able to, just like he has failed Uganda, whereby he has failed to build a sustainable Uganda, whereby you have proper roads, you have proper infrastructures, you have proper institutions that are running single-handedly and independently. He has also failed to man the party.
All right, so yeah, Richard, we're gonna go and look into the situation for Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, just as it was presented by the minister recently. But let's first focus on the issue of FDC and presenting a single candidate. Of course, FDC is one of your strongest parties. Probably, if you're not in people power unit, FDC, I'm pretty much sure about that. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Richard. What does this tell you? The bickering within FDC. These are the things you are talking about NRM in the recent past. Now the same thing is happening in the FDC. They are not figuring out who's going to be their presidential candidate, because those who have come out, according to the party president, is actually furious. with what is going on. So give me a move.
Let me first tell you what's happening. NRM is not a party, it's a revolution. Because by Museveni, even if for him says that from 1960, he has been changing. Today I'm from NASA, PRA, NRA, NRM. He thought he had turned the country into what he thought with his ideology that was finished forever. It was going to be like that, like China. Yeah. So now
UPM.
Then people power comes. People power is a revolution because a revolutionary needs another revolution that can counter-argue his ideology, which is people power. Do you think Museveni, who has seen Bobi Wine rise to where he is today as a superstar liberating a country, do you think that someone in FDC cannot be bribed if he can pay this Kusasira, if he can pay this lady with the...
So are you saying the Amgisha was bribed?
Look, for someone to liberate a country like Uganda with all its wealth and all its might, where we all belong, someone has to have guts. Someone has to have guts like Honorable Chagwe. Most of the other people, I don't think they can withstand the bribe of Museveni. Can give you everything so that you contest with someone. All he wants to divide is to divide people power. But let me tell you what's going to happen. What I'll tell Mr. Museveni is that we are now back in 1980. What he has to do, honestly, if his children and grandchildren are supposed to survive and live in Uganda, let's go back to 1980. Let him protect Honorable Chagwe, because in 1980 the police of Uganda was able to protect him contesting in UPM. So, but if he tries all this game that he's trying to do, this revolution is going to end up, for me what I'm looking up at is what is going to happen the moment they say the election has been rigged, it's not fair and fair. That's the whole game. That's phase 2 of liberating that country will begin. So this phase we are in, there's no money for the election. The people power is not going to consult. It's not going to be on the ballot. There's not going to be this. The moment, all what we need is, has the election been free and fair? Yes or no? Then phase 2 begins. Museveni will go, and in history will never come back with his party.
So sure. So you mentioned about something about the president and the country providing security to Bobi Wine, and I think the government is doing a great job by presenting to the parliament that, hey, Honorable Bobi Wine is now an asset for the country, so he needs security from the government security agencies. And you guys in people power especially were so much against this move. They're going to be spying on him. They're not going to let him do his work as usual. Everything was coming out. I was on social media and the stories were just flowing in and out. So I don't want to bring you in.
Bobi Wine does not need the state security. Kawesi had security. He was assistant IGP. He had security, a lead car in front and a lead car behind. Up to now, the government of Uganda does not know who killed Kawesi. One of the judges, Kagezi, had security. She had a lead car in front, a lead car behind, and even in the car where she was murdered, there were police officers. Her security guards were there, and they had guns as well. Up to this day, they do not know who murdered Kagezi. Bobi Wine, Museveni should not, because this is one I think. They are trying to implant spies around Bobi Wine who are going to follow up his, because right now what has been happening, they do not know, they think Bobi Wine is at home and he wakes up in Ginger. They think Bobi Wine is in, and they are disturbed because they do not know. I know definitely, I've had rumors where they've tried to get some of the people power guys around him to pay them so that they can give information of their movements. So Uganda has so much, there are so many other people who need security right now. Bobi Wine, because whatever they want to do is to implant people around him so that they can kill him, you know, they can kill him with their own security that has been provided. I think he's been doing so far so well. Let them provide security to the people who really need it and leave Bobi Wine alone. Because so far the people who have been highly guarded in this country, that they, Kawesi, like Kagezi, who are murdered and we don't know they are murderers. At least let's have Bobi Wine. If he's gonna be killed, let's accept that he was killed when he wasn't guarded. We do not, because they're not giving him security. You can just imagine someone who hates you the most, someone who is, you've really testing his crown, and then he wants to protect you. Who are they fooling?
But this is different. Security agencies are independent.
No, but they all work for Museveni. Which independent? If security, let me respond to even with what you said. If security agencies were independent, we would not see police stopping Bobi Wine from consulting. Why is the police and the army involved in the consultations when the police has already given him a go-ahead to go and consult? Why were we having the army in Lira when Bobi Wine was going to Lira at Karuma? What was the army doing there? You mean the army is supposed to be stopping Bobi Wine from consulting? That is not their responsibility. Why is police stopping? Police is supposed to provide law and order wherever Bobi Wine is going. And they're the same people who give him a go-ahead and the same people stopping him. On Bobi Wine's consultations, he has not even started because he's already stopped on the way. So if police can even stop him from consulting just because they got orders from above, what more are they going to do? Because it is the same people around him. If he allows the security, the same people, they are going to give orders to shoot and they're going to shoot him. And then we are going to go into excuses. Oh, he was shot. Because they were given orders and they're around him. We do not want spies planted around Bobi Wine. We do not want his car to be bugged all the time. There are people who need security in Uganda more than Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine is going to be protected by God. If it is his time to go, if he did not die in Arua, he's not going to die now. And if it is time to go, he will die. So we do not want...
Same goes for Museveni.
Yes, and Museveni will as well die. With his security, with his maximum security, Museveni will die. Just as Mugabe left power, with all the security he had, anything can happen. So, for one thing, we do not let them give the security. If they are looking for money to steal, they can as well get that money they want to claim for security and steal it. But Bobi Wine doesn't need security from this. The same people who wanted to kill him, for the same people who are hunting for his life, for the same people who feel he's taking away bread from their hands.
All right, so I want to bring you Danny's in. You know, it's a responsibility of the state to protect certain individuals against anything, because at the end of the day, if, for example, whenever Chagulanyi is shot dead or murdered or anything happens to him, it's going to be the state, for this case, that is going to be blamed. Don't you think it's a right move by the government of Uganda to take Honorable Chagulanyi as an asset and be protected by the security agencies?
I object basing on the political situation in Uganda. When that issue came up, I saw my friends from the People Power, some of them so happy that, oh, our leader now is going to be given the police escorts. I was like, you guys do not know exactly what is behind this. Remember, Museveni does not want anybody to cast their nets into the lake of his own. Like this country is his. He doesn't want us to go fishing or looking for the people out there to join our camp. He does not care whether you're People Power, whether you're FDC or DP. I remember Mao was almost shot some time back around Wandegea. Same applies to Besigye and Bobi Wine in Arua. So he's waiting for the right time for the bullet to get you unknowingly. So we should not even at one point accept such kind of police near us, because they are the ones that are going to spy on us or even kill you or even try to curtail what you're trying to do. Maybe you're going for your night meetings. You do not want anyone to be there near you, or you want to go with a few people. They will not allow you to go. They will say, our role is to take care of you. We don't know where you're going at night, blah, blah, blah. So all that kind of thing I wouldn't support totally. Museveni is very brilliant. He has already known that the only people that can curtail the opposition functions, including the consultations, are the police. He cannot bring in the army. People will complain so much. The army just comes as a backup, but the people on the forefront are those people from Ankole that put on police uniforms. They are not even in the army, by the way, most of them. Most of them are from the presidential, brigade there. They just put on the police uniform and they come trying to say, we are taking care of you. We do not need their police right now. Maybe during election. During election time, according to the law, yes, it's mandated that they're supposed to have police protection.
And that's what
but this is not the time yet.
That's what the minister said, that when that time comes, the government to see that this guy, Honorable Robert Chagwe, needs security. For him, he wanted it to be now during his consultations, not during the political rallies. Their interest is now, so that he does not even reach that that time of political campaigns without them knowing the details. Because once you have the police, you will give out your details to them. All right, sure.
Yeah.
So
hold up a second. Even campaigns, when they come, they need to have a distance where they stop. Get him to. They should not even come very close to him, because the only people Museveni is going to take out, to take out Bobi Wine, are the police. And Bobi Wine has had his security for the last so many years. If they really want to give Bobi Wine security, let them train Eddie Mutwe. He's been doing a very good job and is very loyal to his master. Let them train Eddie Mutwe to provide the security.
And then when he comes back, you will say he's a mob.
No, we can't allow him.
But he's been doing a very good job. He's very loyal to his master up to this point in time. He can, if he's going to betray him, at least he will know he's betraying him, but he's one person who has been very loyal to him. We do not trust any other police around Bobi Wine, because they are the same people they're going to use to kill him.
All right, Richard,
the scenario right now we are in is the scenario of South Africa. If you read very well the Long Walk to Freedom of Nelson Mandela, he said very well that these people knowingly that now Mandela was the crown, like Honorable Chagwe is the crown. It's up to Museveni and his group. That's why they have not touched him. If they want to survive in Uganda, this is a statement I'm giving to them. If they want to survive in Uganda with their children and grandchildren, with some of their properties, because not all their properties they have stolen are going to remain in their hands. It's up to them, the ball is in their hands. Because if they touch him, someone who is going to come after Honorable Chagwe, because this people power is a revolution. We are in people power. People who will come after Honorable Chagwe will be more tough. They'll end up on in the gallows on Clock Tower. I'm just telling them, they better be careful and take these things very seriously, because if they think they are going to touch him, they must follow what happened in South Africa, because for the South Africa whites to survive in that country, in a new country where everyone wants to enjoy, they said, look, this is our man now that is protecting us. That's why this man, that Kenya said that now we must protect this man. He's an asset. Because if they touch him, I don't want them to touch him. If they touch him, this country is going to go down, and everyone is going to go down and lose everything.
All right, so I want to go down to yeah, sure.
Let me say something quickly about that security. You first ask yourself, who are they protecting Bobi Wine against? Because
any asset of the government can be protected against anything. Could be a friend, could be an enemy, could be anything, could be animals.
First of all, I think this is the inequality that we stand against. This tendency to isolate people of interest by the government and give them privileges. The tendency to isolate people and give them privileges that normal Ugandan would not have access to. Secondly, the greatest enemy or the greatest threat to Bobi Wine's life is the police and the army. And he has said it many times. If they want to protect Bobi Wine, let them start by arresting the DPC of Lira, who was working with goons while Bobi Wine was in the car scared for his life, because these guys saw those videos. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it is a hypocritic is that word
Hypocritical.
existent? Yeah, it is just pretense and this tendency of constantly fooling Ugandans, monkey tricks by the Museveni government that are last kicks of a dying horse, to be honest. Because the only threat again is the police and Museveni. Bobi Wine feels very safe when he's walking downtown. He feels very safe among the population.
I know.
He feels very safe in Kamoja. It is only when police surrounds him that he starts to cry for his life. So I beg whoever is offering security to first start by arresting those police elements who have tortured Bobi Wine, who have threatened his life all the time, and who make him feel unsafe. In Onyankole, we have a saying that when someone gives you something, when your enemy gives you something out of a bad heart, we call it we say wajiremba bazizabaloji, which means oyina ekisa ky'abalogo. Okitegeera ekyo kisa ky'abalogo kyennyini. So we I honestly
But what did you say in Runyankole? Because I wanted to get it clear. I need to get it fast. What did you say?
In Runyankole they call it embabazi z'abalogi.
Oh, okay.
And it means ekisa ky'abalogo. I think there's a saying in Luganda.
How do you say in Nyankole?
In Luganda would be something also goes in those lines whereby
oyina ekisa ky'omulogo.
Yeah.
I think there's also a Luganda saying, but in
Luganda
Runyankole
version.
I know if
Luganda
your
version.
enemy.
How would just a minute? How would you say the same statement back in your area?
Our tradition is very different, so I don't know that one. I have to be
Okay.
yeah.
When you're seated and your enemy gives you maybe a cup of porridge from your enemy, you hand. I don't know if you would be like you, David, a smart man. I don't know if you would receive it with both hands or with one hand so that it pours. So I am suggesting that I actually was with Bobi Wine in New York when he was going to Jamaica, and this news came in when I was seated at having lunch with him, and he said that he's not going to accept. Even though he hasn't come out yet.
That's where I was going, because I needed to get first-hand information for what he
no, but
exactly
it's
said.
smart. He knows. These people who have attempted, what happened, unless you've not sat down with Bobi Wine to give you a real account of what happened in Arua, and what keeps happening even around his house. Definitely. And Bobi Wine looking at Kawesi being taken down in broad daylight. But looking at Kagezi, who was on a very interesting case being taken down. And so many Ugandans. Abiliga used to wear yellow. His underwears were yellow. Everything about Abiliga was yellow. But he was also gunned down. Look at a policeman, a fully, pledged policeman. No, I'm talking of Chilumira. Chilumira was also gunned down. He was a policeman. I think maybe, I don't know even if he had a gun on him by the time he was gunned down. So you cannot be stupid to accept such mockery from government when they start telling you, oh, we are going to give you security. If at this point in time, the same government who wanted to kill Bobi Wine last year, now they think he's a national asset.
All right. So I want to take you a little bit off. We still have a couple of minutes.
But the same minister says potholes attract tourists.
Let me take you a little bit to Masaka. I think it's Masaka. No, Remiaga, where Peter Sechikubo was arrested, taken in, taken out, taken in, taken out, and General Tumine comes out to say that this guy deserves to serve for the crimes he did. Now, what does that tell you? Is this a political play that when these smart political politicians start, time getting to elections and they start coming up with all these cases? What was the real case according to, let me start with Dennis. What did it tell you when you saw such a very brilliant gentleman fighting for the people around his area being taken into custody because of crimes they say he committed 10 years back?
You see, Museveni's cronies amaze me. The Chaligonzas, the Tumwines are the ones, by the way, who give Museveni orders on what to do. Because Museveni is now old. Some of the things he even doesn't know. But the people around him are the ones that are giving him wrong orders so that we are curtailed.
I think saying that protects Museveni. He should take responsibility for his
Of course, he's the
foolery.
leader. Of course, yeah,
Yes.
that's true. Thank you for
But for
correcting.
this case, the president didn't do anything. He didn't say
Yes, I am
anything.
now
This is-
trying to tell
These are
you.
security officers that came up to do their job, and at the same time, General Eltumine being a minister for security,
Security, yeah.
he has to say that because that's his department.
Yeah, so this tells you that he has a big say in this country. So when he says anything, no one comes up to challenge him. No military officer, including Museveni, has come to say, oh, Tumwine, that was wrong for you to say this. Because if it happened that time back, what hour are you waiting for between those years up to now to take him to court? If he really shot someone dead who he attempted to shoot, why are you waiting for all that time to now? So, Sechikuba as being a rebel MP, of course, you know, NRM does not like that.
But is he
And-
not supposed to serve for the crimes if he did them?
He is supposed to serve, and I am sure the law will take course. The only problem comes in when the accuser comes at a time when it's not supposed to be there. Why didn't you come up early to bring up this kind of case before courts?
All right.
And what were you waiting for you to now bring it now? It tells us that there's something fishy. You're trying to curtail the man. You don't want the man to... This is the campaigning period.
All right.
Of course, everyone knows that they have to go back to their villages to get support from their people. But now Tumwine does not want that Sechikuba as being a rebel MP. Because at some point, the Sechikubos, when it comes into election like this, they also want to submit to their party a little bit, even if they disagree with it. So this time they are not allowing them even to submit a little. Because I remember in the last election, there was a big sitting between the NRM top people. Others did not want the rebel MPs at all to contest under NRM flagship, while the others were saying if we ban these people away, we shall lose a lot. Since court was in precedence at that time, and they were surely going to win the case. So Museveni told them that it's okay. President Museveni told them it's okay. Let them contest under what? Under NRM. So that is how they came back to parliament under the NRM flagship. But initially they were not supposed to. So this time I believe they do not want them to come. They either go independent or they are nowhere to be seen.
All right,
they
so
will make them go into trouble.
I'm going to give only two people, you, Dennis, and Richard, to talk about that case. Then I'll go for Sarah's case. We are going to cover up with the Sanitary parties issue that is now coming back. Since last year we talked about it, now it's coming back. But Richard, what's your take on Theodore Sechikuba's case?
For me,
now that he's supposed to be serving the crimes he committed 10 years back.
For me, I wanted to give me my time and give an advice to what I'm, because this Sechikuba thing is there. This Sechikuba thing
He
is
committed
there.
a crime?
No. There's going to be a delegate conference, I think next week. Why is there too much pressure on him? There must be something that Sechikuba is going to do that they don't want to do. That's my worst thinking. But I wanted to submit something here. Then we go on, because I don't want to waste my time on this issue.
Right.
Because it's not going to make us win an election.
Sure, exactly. So I don't know whether it won't make you, but
No, but
probably
what I wanted to advise the people power they have to do now, especially coordinators, go and look for all the veterans that fought, that Museveni took back to their homes, that now they are collecting them to take them to Somalia. Tell them that people power has a better plan for them. Let them be absent when they call them. They must not go away at this crucial moment to go to Somalia. Let them stay at home.
How is it? I want you to
Yes,
bring me
that's
the issue
most
of
important thing
Theodore
now.
Sechikuba's case. What does that mean to you? Is it just NRM's future conference that is coming up, that's why they're arresting him, or it's because he committed the crimes and is supposed to serve those crimes?
No,
They have already even notified
there's
them
something
not to
there.
appear.
We shall see it next week. We shall see it by Saturday. There's something there, because if you see the pressure they are putting on this man, Sechikuba, is way beyond any normal.
All right.
So I wanted to tell these people to go to and do that. Look for these veterans. Tell them people power. There's the GI Bill. They are going to be paid well. They are going to be paid well. in the new army of the country. They are going to train the new army of the country. They are going to serve in their country. They are going to be given money to start business again, staying in their own country. Let them be absent when Museveni calls them, because that's the most important issue that now he's trying to do now, to take them out of the country.
Sure, Hamani, I want you to give a summation, then I'll go.
About Sachiko.
Yes, about Sachiko, then I'll go to the final summation of the Sanitary patch.
I think he was. Why was he arrested? Because he attempted to kill someone?
There were the 10 cases of crimes he committed 10 years back, and secondly, he was kind of disorganizing the village where he happens to be, I think, an area.
Yeah, that is.
No, the problem was because of the market, the quarantine disease. He
right.
tried to reopen the market that was closed.
That is
but
right.
the market was not closed. Within Luemiaga, nothing was closed. It was the neighboring counties that was closed, but not Luemiaga market.
That is what I understand. I see this as a people power case, because the people are the ones who were resisting the police.
Right.
But they arrested a political opponent, who is, by the way, NRM. And that's what I keep telling. That's what I keep saying when I get opportunities like this. I keep telling those, full figures, Bebeku, those people who celebrate a lot, even the Ofono Pondos, that this man is going to use you and dump you after a while, right? When you sober up, you will be in a mess like Titata and the like, because he was initially NRM, and now that he says, oh, you're doing something wrong, because they were trying to close a market, saying that there was a livestock disease, that people should sell off their animals at a cheap price, so that they get some money before the animals get sick. But that is, of course, it is an attempt to make people lose their sources of income. You tell a poor man, sell off your cow, when it's the only source of income.
And the buyer to win it.
There you go. The person paying is one of them. But they are telling you, sell to us cheaply, trying to impoverish Ugandans. This is the government supposed to protect our interests. So I think it is, of course, unfair. It is this constant, what's it called? Harassment of opposition leaders in Uganda, and this is going to stop in 2021.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, sure. I want to thank you guys for your submission on that. But let me first go back to our viewers. Do you remember a few years ago, the president promised that they are going to start as a government to provide sanitary pads to kids while they go to school, especially. Sanitary pads are always used by girls. No man uses pads. But lately, the world has changed, so you may find a man using a pad too. But let me focus on the women for the case of our country. The government promised that girls are going to be provided for sanitary pads, and these are going to be reusable. And since then, the government has been promising and promising and promising, and nothing has been done. But recently, when the Minister for Education was asked the question of how far, she was very clear. Maybe the government is not yet ready to provide these sanitary pads. And she was also very strategic by saying she does not support the distribution of reusable sanitary pads to the kids. Now, let me read what she exactly said, and I quote. For me, I think that the government should not have a project that supplies reusable sanitary pads for our children, because really, that is not the best way to provide sanitary towels. And if government must do this, it must be the best way that it should be done. She said. Now, guys, I want to come back to you. I'm sure the audience has seen, has read this, has had the minister saying it. She's the first lady of the country. She's a woman. She's a mother. Now, the responsibility is back to you guys. She was very clear. Now, I'm starting with Sarah. I was reserving this question for you. The first lady says she doesn't find it important for girls to be provided for sanitary pads by the government. What is your take?
But how will she find it important when she has never bought sanitary pads herself using her own money for her children? She has about 3 daughters. It is taxpayers that have been buying the sanitary pads. And I believe in State House there must be someone in charge of supplies who always packed these sanitary pads, you know, in a store where the kids used to go and find them. So she doesn't know. But it's so absurd coming from a mother, because she's a mother, she has kids, and then her daughter is also having, and a woman who has gone through menstrual periods, knowing very well that some children have not been able to access school because they cannot stand going to school in these periods, and then they don't have a pad, or and you've seen so many dropouts. Kids fail to do examinations because of lack of sanitary pads, or kids, the shame of going to school. You can just imagine. I remember one time when I was in school, a girl, I think around primary, the first time I saw someone in period around primary 7, where a girl stood up in class and all the skirt was all red. It was, you know, so I can just imagine, because she must have, maybe she wasn't ready for that, but that's what happens. And we've had so many cases of school dropouts. But the cheapest way, and this is what I've insisted on, if only government cared, if really, and it's so absurd that President Museveni had to choose his wife to be the minister for education when she's not fit for that office. She does not behave like a mother, she's not fit for that office. Because if only she cared about the children of Uganda, just empower them. And I've talked about this so many times. There are so many community-based organizations. I'll give an example. Bobi Kyagulanyi has an organization, Caring Hearts. This organization, one of these activities it does is to train young children, school-going students or children, into making sanitary pads. If purchasing is so expensive, why don't you empower? When I was in primary school, we used to have the girls' club and all that, and there's so many things we used to learn in those school clubs. So why don't you empower? If you don't want to go into the expense of buying as being too much, why don't every school or every class in a school have a girls' club where they are provided with materials? Because I believe if government bought the materials to make the sanitary pads, and you have trainers go into these schools and teach these girls how to make a sanitary pad, maybe in places that are really needy where parents cannot afford these, every child can make maybe 1 to, if they know how to make them, every child can make maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 pads, 1 for use and then a spare to have in case, you know, they have to wash the other. It is more cheaper, and you're giving these girls a skill of which even they can learn something to earn money from in the future. So it is simple common sense. But when you have such a big office and you give it to a woman who is not even fit to be in that office, and it's so huge, I just imagine, okay, despite her being the minister for education, she does, you know, education as a sector, it has so many, it has so many sectors where they deal with welfare, you know, in schools, sanitation and all that. There must be someone at least with brains. I cannot believe the entire ministry, everyone cannot use simple common sense to understand the fact that if they do not have money to purchase, I'm just assuming the money to purchase these pads is really expensive. Why can they work with community-based organizations and train these school-going students or kids how to make their own sanitary pads, of which they are not only giving them a pad to use, but they are giving them a skill they can use in future? Because this was a presidential pledge. If the president is not ashamed, and they should even be ashamed to say they don't have money for this. This was a presidential pledge for 2016. Well, this is the reason why
you mentioned that that different stakeholders were trying to provide sanitary pads to these kids. And actually, the First Lady, who is also the minister, says this is not the best option.
But what is the best option? What is the best option? We should not run away from the fact that our brothers and sisters go into menstrual periods on a monthly basis. And some kids, the process of a woman going through the cycle, there are people who go through periods every day for 30 days of the month. People who have complications. Some kids stay in a period for a week, some people for 2 weeks, some people maybe 5 days. So what is the best option? The best option is having our brothers and our sisters bleeding to school, or staying away from school, or running away from school for the 7 days. Do you know how much a child misses for 5 or 7 days they're away from school? So what is the best option? She has not given us an alternative. If giving them sanitary pads, okay, I'm giving her an alternative. If she cannot afford, if her ministry cannot afford to buy, let her provide raw materials, and let the community-based organizations go into these schools and create small clubs, and they teach these girls. We used to have co-curricular activities. In one of those co-curricular activities, 1 hour, 2 hours, let school-going children start. When I was in primary school, we used to have school gardens, where in those co-curricular activities, we used to go farming.
All right.
And we used to, at some point in time, all the greens we used to get from the garden, that was, we used to eat those greens in our either lunch or dinner. So the simple thing is, she's not providing an alternative. And I don't understand why in a ministry, no one is smart enough to provide these alternatives. It is simple things. If you cannot provide the pads, if they're expensive, provide the raw materials, because they are cheaper. The raw materials to make these pads are cheaper, and let the people who need these pads make them for themselves.
All right.
Bobi Kyagulanyi is doing it with organization. I've seen her in some parts of Uganda where they've gone in and trained these girls. But I know she doesn't have the capacity to provide, to do this because also, and recently I saw her video about 1 week or 2 weeks ago where she was asking people to drop by her office in Kamocha and drop, at least buy. She was telling them, don't give me money, don't bring money, but at least buy a box of reusable sanitary pads and drop it at our office. We'll be able to go through all these schools and wherever we are able to reach and give them out. It is simple. If individuals, if small organizations that do not even have donor fundings are able to do it, how can government fail? And you end up giving the likes of Kusasira, Bebe Cool, and it's so absurd.
Oh, sorry, I want to take you off.
As Bebe Cool and Kusasira are busy fighting, Bobi Wine and fighting for all this nonsense. Because as much as there is TB in Uganda, the issue of sanitary pads, I think, is more important than even the issue of TB right now in Uganda.
All right, so sorry, thank you.
Bebe Cool, as a parent who has just had her daughter go through primary 7, and very soon, if she hasn't started, she's going to start her menstrual periods, you should have a heart for so many Ugandan kids that have not gotten access to sanitary pads, yet he got a car. Just imagine the car Bebe Cool got from government.
Sure. So,
how
Sarah,
many pads did it provide for Ugandans
Sarah, thank you for
who need the sanitary pads?
How many your final take? And then I'll go to Richard, Dennis, and then I'll give my final take and we'll close the show. How many you take?
On the issue of sanitary pads, you ask yourself, why was this offer made? Because initially the background is that Museveni pledged. It was a campaign.
Yeah, the president pledged that he was going to give out.
He told Ugandans.
To the Ugandans,
this is sometimes some of the things that make me want to throw up, honestly. He told Ugandans that if you vote me back in 2016, all children, all Ugandan, all primary school children are going to be getting free sanitary pads, right? He gets into power almost 5 years later, or even 5 years later, nothing has been done. And his wife, same house, comes up and says, no, we cannot do this. If we are going to do it, we have to do it right. When I have been here thinking, when was the last time that the Ugandan government got something right? Ask yourself that question. Think about it. I don't know any project, Ndagamuntu, OTT, purchasing planes, building hospital, the Lubowa Hospital, Entebbe Expressway is the most expensive road in the world. All the things they boast about, all the things that they use as campaign strategies are not done right. They're actually done to the betterment of their personal wealth.
All right.
I think, in my view, just as we know, because the same lady has a scandal right now in the papers of $1.4 million where she sanctioned a Chinese company I think they looked on the internet, they gave a Chinese company, they saw a Chinese company that does solar panels, then they made up the same name, a company with the same name, and signed papers and gave that fake company $1.4 million. She's involved. It is a scandal in the papers. They paid to MPO. They paid to a non-existent
company.
Yeah, a non-existent company $1.4 million to build solar panels in schools. Do you understand? It is a scandal in the papers.
All right.
And when they contacted the Chinese company whose name they used, that company didn't know anything about that bill. Ugandans are being taken for a ride by these hooligans. They're actually hooligans.
So I want to take you.
So,
let me bring you, Richard. What's your final take when you see that the Minister for Education coming up to disagree with what the president pledged to do?
There's something I'll never do.
Yeah, I'm
Me
going to give
as a
you 1
person,
second. Yeah.
Okay, I'll never attack Mrs. Museveni because I read her book. She's a wife of a revolutionary. That is me only because I know why. I'll tell you one day in my book. But I'm going to tell you that people power, what is going to do. There's going to be a factory in Uganda for children, for making sanitary pads for the children, our children, because everyone has to go through it. Even the old people that cannot afford these things. There will be a government-sponsored factory where these things are going to be given out like they used to give out books when we were young and choker. It's because this is essential. The second thing that people power are going to do, overhaul the education system. I was looking at them when they were boasting that, oh, this year the children in primary 6 and my primary 7 have passed very well, that were in UPE. But when I looked down, I saw that the most subjects that they passed through were the social studies. What about math? What about sciences? So all these things are going to be done by people power. So this thing is going to be solved once and forever.
Sure. Richard, thank you. Dennis?
Yep. Thank you so much, David. The FDC is celebrating 15 years of existence in Uganda.
With the scandals?
Yes.
With scandals?
Which scandals? The government scandals?
With the scandals within.
No, we don't have scandals. We just have different opinions
all right, Dennis,
while moving ahead. So we are outside there doing a lot. In the same celebration, we are also making sure we cast our nets wider. If there were some fish that we did not catch in 2016, this time we are going to put all of them in the net. We're also sensitizing our team, our people, to be able to love one another, to work together with all the political people that are ready for change. Okay? If your brothers come and they're all in the same circle, please deal with them, work with them. Don't send them away. Talk together, believe in the future, and let's focus. If it is a block vote, let's work towards that. We're also expecting a lot to come from our leaders of these pressure groups and political organizations so that we are able to make sure that Museveni retires in peace. Finally, I saw something about Makerere buying gowns from China. That is very unfortunate. We are not buying from Uganda. We are not building Uganda. Our economy is going to go down. I saw them launching Leica Mobile, which is more of a service industry instead of bringing a manufacturing industry. We are losing jobs. We are only bringing this to benefit the few that will repatriate their profit.
All right.
I want to ask you to be with us. Bear with us. Change is on its way. The FDC is ready to work together with its members, with its allies, and make sure we push this guy back home.
All right, so Sarah, I cannot say that you want to give you a final submission. Why your final submission? You've had a lot with the women's issue. You were so emotionally attached to the issue. But what's your final submission? I'm pretty much sure the government is going to work on fixing the problem of sanitary pads with the girls, but they don't have
for
that
sure,
sort of funds.
if Stella Nyanzi is in Luzira for coming out vigorously to demand for sanitary pads for Ugandans, of which it was a presidential pledge, they will not. Because Stella Nyanzi, everything that sparked her being in Luzira was the demand and a promise to the president, and even going out aggressively to start collecting money to buy the pads and giving them to schools. So they will not. If Stella Nyanzi in Luzira, they will not.
All right.
And at 2021, again, it comes back if you are, because usually Ugandans that are easily deceived into this kind of nonsense are Ugandans who, the village dwellers, Ugandans, if you have your sister back home or your mother, and they live in the most part of the village, and those are the most people Museveni promised sanitary pads, please don't misuse your vote again. Because I know that in 2016, the people who voted waiting for the pledge to be fulfilled. Exactly. People were so much waiting for the pad, and they said, my dear, my sister, my brother, let's vote because Museveni is going to give us pads. But it is 5-6 years, and your daughters are becoming mothers, no sanitary pads, and they're not going to come. So it is entirely up to Ugandans. There are so many pledges Museveni has made, and they've not been fulfilled. It is entirely up to you to continue taking in these lies or coming out in huge numbers and you vote him out. Otherwise, if you keep acting as if you don't see what's happening, Museveni is here not to go. Unless God wakes up and takes him away, he's still going to be in Uganda unless we wake up and take him out.
All right, sure. So I want to thank you guys for giving me your time and everything. I'm not going to give anybody any single time because my producers are telling me I'm running out of time. So let me thank the viewers. Now, I want to thank you, but before I thank you as I close the show, let me give my closing take. We have always complained about the problems we face with these politicians that we vote for in power, especially in Uganda. That's not the problem. The problem is you, the voter who wakes up early in the morning, you go and line up and you vote for these people who at the end of the day do not think about you. Take a look at this. Remember just a couple of years ago, you were complaining about the OTT. Now the same organization that set the OTT, which was supported by the members of parliament you voted for, is the same organization that came back yesterday to say the OTT is not working out. We are transferring all the costs on the data. That means OTT is going to be swapped into the data you buy. Now think about it. Who is to blame? Should we blame the politicians who go in parliament and sit and have breakfast and lunch and dinners without doing nothing? Or should we blame you, the voter, who goes every single moment when they tell you that it's time to vote and stand in that queue for hours, and then you vote for somebody who does not actually serve what you want? Think about it. It's no more of this business of saying these politicians. It's more of you as a voter to think about where your money is going. So let me just now that I'm running out of time, I'll give these other guys probably next week to pass out some of the ads they want to make. But I want to thank you for always watching Uganda at Crossroads. You make this show big. You make us get always the new ideas and new guests that we always have here. So I want to thank you again. Have a nice week. I will see you again next weekend. My name is David Rubura. Don't forget, if you have any comment or suggestion or anything you want to put up, send it directly to our messaging system. We'll get back right to you and we have more of a talk. Have a nice week. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. You see what happened, for not giving you the opportunity. But I want to thank you, Richard. Sorry, Joy, I want to thank you. Dennis, thank you for coming. And to our viewers, we love you so much. Have a very wonderful time. I want to thank my camera people. I'm not going to mention their names. They have stopped me from mentioning names. But I want to thank also my producers. Have a great time. See you next week.